Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The question is to the Premier. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals promised that auto insurance rates would come down by 50%. They even put that in their budget, but people aren't getting the savings that they were promised because the Premier called that a stretch goal, a goal that was achievable, but the government simply did not make a priority and did not achieve. The Premier promised not to cut health care, not to cut education services, but I guess that was a stretch goal as well, because nurses are being fired and education services are being cut. How should Ontarians know which of the upcoming budget promises will be trusted and which ones are going to be stretch goals?
Thank you. Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, the member opposite knows full well that the auto insurance rates on average across the province have gone down by over 7%, Mr. Speaker. There are some companies, Mr. Speaker, who have already attained the 15% reduction in premium rates, Mr. Speaker. And it's an important goal for us, Mr. Speaker. We continue to work on it. We continue to work to get costs out of the system. But we're not going to put up with a situation where people can't actually find auto insurance, Mr. Speaker, because companies have left the field completely. We will continue to invest in health care, Mr. Speaker. You know, I would ask both the member of the third party and the opposition to look at where the hiring is happening across the province, Mr. Speaker. You have to look at the whole equation to determine how healthcare system is improving in the province and the healthcare workers who are in place. Mr. Speaker, I look forward to the.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, it's shameful that there are fewer nurses per capita now, based on our population, than there were in 1986.
Shame.
I remember in 2014 asking the Premier about the sale of Hydro One, and she said to me, quote, "We are keeping these assets in public hands," end quote. Of course, she's already sold 15% of that public asset. Now 15% of it is in private hands, and she's planning to sell off control. I guess it was a stretch goal to keep Hydro One in public hands. Can the Premier tell Ontarians whether this budget is going to show that even keeping that 40% was actually a stretch goal, and now we're going to see all of it sold off?
Mr. Speaker, let me just be clear that we ran on a plan, Mr. Speaker. We're implementing that plan, and that plan is working. We said to the people of Ontario, we are going to invest in your talent and your skills. We're going to make sure that we have the most highly educated workforce in the world, Mr. Speaker. We said we're going to invest in 21st century infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, the transit, the water systems
the member
that we
from
know
Dufferin-Caledon
are necessary for economic growth. We said we are going to work with the private sector. Yes, we are going to work with business to make sure that we put the supports in place and we partner with them to bring business. We are the #1 jurisdiction for foreign direct investment for 2 years in a row, Mr. Speaker. And we said we're going to ensure that there's retirement security in this province for everyone who has worked throughout their lives. That's what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. And you know, I would have expected that the NDP would have found a lot in that plan to recommend it to them.
Thank you.
I believe, Mr. Speaker, that it is.
Thank you. Stop. Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Final supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to see this Premier take, Mr. Speaker, that question that she ran on selling off Hydro One to the public and ask Ontarians if that's what they believe she ran on. Because I think she would get a very interesting answer to that question. People deserve health care when and where they need it. Students deserve an education that's second to none. People deserve to know that when this government says they're not going to sell a public asset, they're actually not going to sell off that public asset and instead give it to their friends and hand it away without any sort of consultation. These are the fundamentals. This government is getting those fundamentals absolutely wrong. In this upcoming budget, will Ontarians see their priorities being addressed, like stopping the cuts to services, like stopping the sell-off of a public asset, or will it be more of the Premier putting the interests of her friends instead of the interests and needs of the people of Ontario? So, Mr. Speaker,
let me just continue to emphasize to illustrate why I believe that the plan that we have put in place, the plan that we ran on, which in terms of the fiscal foundation was exactly the plan the NDP ran on, Mr. Speaker, except they were going to take $600 million more out of services. Mr. Speaker, we can look at objective assessments of what's happening. Let's look at the facts. The 2015 third quarter results show that Ontario's real GDP has grown by 0.9%, which outpaces both the Canadian and the U.S. economies. As I said, we're ranked first for foreign direct investment in North America for the second year in a row, Mr. Speaker. Ontario was the only province in Canada to gain jobs in January. So, Mr. Speaker, we're doing a little bit better than other parts of the country. There's more that we have to do, but the plan that we put in place is working, Mr. Speaker. You'll see the latest installment in the